And what we have to figure out a way to do is, before we have another event like Sputnik, and the event that's going to be like Sputnik for the US is going to be when China or India starts selling drugs to us instead of the other way around. And that's going to start something that's going to be very changing here in the US, and hopefully we can begin to address that earlier. We've got to start educating our scientists about the drug discovery process. Right at the moment, the National Institutes of Health funds basic discovery research. It does not fund the development of those drugs. And it's viewed as completely benign, busy work, essentially, to develop a drug, grunt work, let's say. But in reality, we don't train anyone to do that. We don't train them to look at something and say, is this going to actually be a drug? We expect the pharmaceutical industry and the biotech industry to take those products on, or the venture capital firms to start new startup companies. Well, you know, when you have a 1 in 18 chance of coming up with a new drug at the end of the day, it only works so long for venture capital to make a return on that. In fact, they've gotten slaughtered in recent years, and as a result, venture capital for early startup companies has almost fallen away completely. What they'd rather do is to take drugs that have actually made it into the clinic and show some hint of promise and pump the extra $150 million that's necessary to drive them all the way through to commercialization to sort of take that de-risked product and run it in. And so we've been left with a huge gap in that early stage technology, early stage development that we're trying to fill by the efforts of the governor and the legislature here and the Colorado Institute of Drug, Device, and Diagnostic Development. So what the Institute does is that we actually have a solicitation process where we look at technology that's available from our research institutions and from our private startup companies. We pick technologies that show the most promise for development and have a clear development pathway. And then our goal is to actually actively manage and finance those during the early stages to get those companies off on very solid footing. The advantage that we have is that we don't build a company every time and build a huge infrastructure every time to find out whether we really have the opportunity to have a new commercial success. We use a small management team with expertise that actually runs those projects as projects, and when they're ready to really get off on solid footing to be in the position to hire jobs, the management teams let them go at that point and allow them to develop on their own. A unique concept, we have both a not-for-profit, the Institute itself is a not-for-profit institution. It allows us to take philanthropic monies as well as angel monies, and we have a for-profit side as well that allows investors to come in. We started in December. I'm joined by Kevin Smith, the ex-president of Gambro, on the device side. I am a serial entrepreneur, having started 4 companies in Colorado in the life sciences sector. So we're really happy to be here today. We're happy about the enthusiastic report that Walt did and the great job that he did that really outlines some of the difficulties that we face in the United States and will face in the coming years. And hopefully we won't happen, what happened with Sputnik won't happen with a drug in the near future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dana Zwonkowski, and I'm the Director of Government Relations for the American Cancer, excuse me, the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. I'm here to put a human face on what this investment in cancer research and medical innovation means. This absolutely has a human impact, and it makes its way from the when this research makes its way from the laboratories to the bedside. In 1995, the American Cancer Society put forth goals that they hope to reach by 2015 to reduce cancer mortality by 50%, to reduce cancer incidence by 25%, and to have a measurable impact on the quality of life of cancer patients. This kind of investment in medical innovation and cancer research will help us reach those goals and far surpass them in the years following 2015. We have made progress already. Today, researchers are making remarkable progress in every area of cancer prevention, early detection, treatment, and care, moving discoveries from the laboratories to the bedside. The absolute number of cancer deaths in the United States declined for several consecutive years in a row, despite the growth and aging of our population. More effective therapies have led to improved outcomes for more than 10.5 million cancer survivors living in the United States today, with 14% of those survivors having been diagnosed over 20 years ago. However, If we see a stunting growth in this type of investment, we'll absolutely see the effects and the human impact as well. Investigators are forced to cut staff and take away from the hard work of laboratory discovery and instead focus on writing multiple grant applications. This slows the process, and when this beginning part of the process is slowed, lives are being spent. Many of the brightest and best young minds are no longer see the promise of a career in science. Moreover, young investors are waiting ever longer to obtain their first grant. And other countries, from Singapore to Switzerland, are making investment in biomedical sciences high national priorities. The United States needs to follow suit. The American Cancer Society and the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network are not only investing with private ACS dollars in germinal stage research, but we are also actually currently lobbying in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill for increases in funding to the National Institutes of Health and the National Cancer Institute. We consider ourselves integral partners with the biotech industry and other medical innovative industries in helping to find a cure for this insidious disease, as well as other chronic diseases. We understand that if private and public funding for this type of research is stunted, it will have a human impact. I will close with a very brief story. I was fortunate enough to meet a woman by the name of Judith Stone earlier this year, and she absolutely put a human face on this type of research for me. She was dealing with breast cancer, and she was not responding to the standard therapy that she was currently engaged in, chemotherapy treatment. And I actually was able to help her get enrolled in a clinical trial. The drug being tested was a drug that produced less extensive side effects, which she could not endure because she was already only 100 pounds. She couldn't experience further side effects, and the drug that they were testing actually was trying to lessen the amount of side effects that the patient would experience. She was able to enroll in that clinical trial. She responded beautifully to the treatment, and Judith Stone is here and alive and well today. She has beat her cancer, and there is no way that she would have if she would have had to remain on that standard therapy. So I absolutely can see every day we should be able to remind ourselves every day that this has a human impact and lives are saved because of investments in this research. Thank you.